Okay, welcome back, everybody. This is our eighth session or ninth session on Qadar, divine determining, and we are reading the 26th word by Imam Nursi. Um, this is his treatise on divine determining and free will. So, last week we read the last two paragraphs of this section, and our heart work was to revisit and reread these two last paragraphs um, and reflect on them during the week. And inshallah, we'll have people who would like to share. So just a few things I remember from last week that I thought were important. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So some of the important things that we talked about was the connection between the words we're looking at: qadar, takdir, miqdar, qudra, right? So we're looking at how everything existing is aligned with an immaterial, well-proportioned mold, and it's being given existence by an absolute power. Things are measured out, calculated, controlled, planned. And we looked at how some of these examples can be verified by what we are witnessing in our everyday lives. Another thing that I was looking at for myself was um, when we have this cycle, let's say, of a seed which has the index of the tree that it will grow or become, and that tree has or bears a fruit, which then has a seed that can be planted to grow a tree like it. It's kind of similar to how we're living our lives. And then we talked a little bit about whatever I'm filling in that seed is what will grow for me in the next creation. Um, and one thing that I really, really appreciated from last week was how dua is like a recipe, and we need to constantly update or upgrade our own programming. So I think last week I also gave the example of, like our phones having constant updates. And we were thinking about how our state of heedlessness or forgetfulness is basically this default state that I'm in. And what I'm hoping to work on and what I need to prioritize in my life is to upgrade that default state to be in a conscious state of ubudiyya, of worship and awareness of myself being sustained. Um, so I'll stop there and I'll open it up for anyone who would like to share anything, and then I'll reread those two paragraphs just so we have it in our minds before we go on to the next.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you, Nurbanu, for a beautiful recap. That was very concise. I guess I'll just share a reflection that one that's been sitting and one that came today that kind of summarizes at least the practicality of it, using the knowledge that we study together in halakha to actually, in real life, practice it, sitting with it until you really feel like it's transforming your perception. So it felt to me like as I'm throughout the week experiencing what I call less than preferred things, it seemed to me that, I mean, it occurred to me that I can either, in that instance, show resistance that I don't like this thing, which then is, like Dr. Yamina said last week, it's like an unconscious program running, like a reaction. It's like getting so caught up in the feelings that you just resist and react. Or it was nice because I like when this happens, it's just you're either acting like this or you're acting like this. And that makes it became very clear to me. Or the alternative is remembering that this moment, with all of its details, preferred or not, was calculated and brought by Qudra, power, to come for me. Therefore, it must be. Um, if the one that brought it into existence with Qudra and measured it, then it must be intelligence and with a purpose. So then I just felt like it's either you're unconsciously reacting or you're seeing the face of God specifically as it points to Qadar. Like this moment was measured and brought into power. I like what Dr. Yamina said last week, like DNA is a code or recipe, like Norbanu summarized. Similarly, I feel like our choices, and I don't know if this is jumping the gun, probably, but people's choices, we already talked up until this point, can be very destructive. Even holding back kindness, we were saying, can be very destructive. And so I think that was a big pause too. And so even with the fitan, the calamitous tribulations that we're witnessing daily and even momentarily at this point, there's seemingly, it's just such a relief. That's the word. It's such a relief to remember now that we're studying Qadar that if this evil choice, which it is, and that person is responsible, like Imam Nursi says, that person has the face that points to them. My responsibility is to choose how I am going to interpret the event, either the reactionary way by focusing on, this person's choices and this, or remembering that if it was brought into existence, again, Qudra, then it must be intelligent. So for me, that just, it felt like a nice way to tie in taqdir and qudra in the here and now. It's either you're remembering that it's the face of God that measured this and brought it into power with intelligence, or you're in the dark. You're completely, like Dr. Amina said, choosing unconsciously because of some unconscious program running inside. And then that leads to chaos, which then empowers the chaos. So alhamdulillah, I hope that was sensible, inshallah, and beneficial, as it was for me, alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum. So today I had a conversation with Yamina about my own less than preferred circumstances, and she brought in like the concepts that both of you spoke about. So I'm just going to bring in the example because there were two outcomes of dealing with the situation that she made clear to me. So with the qudra, taqdir, and what was the other word? Qudra, which is like Allah's qudra for making this happen. Taqdir, like it is planned, and then qadr. Like with Allah's qudra, it is because of Allah's qudra and taqdir that this person is in my life, and that this person in my life is presenting me with situations that are less than preferred, just the way you say them, Sarah, I like it. So as I am responding to that person, like if I can continuously train myself to see the qudra and the taqdir and how everything is planned perfectly, then I will also know that this is planned perfectly for me. So there's two outcomes of the situation. One outcome is when I react to the situation with my default غفلة manner, like heedlessness, not seeing al-qudra, not seeing taqdir. And when I do that, I am feeding my nafs. So my nafs, my ego, comes out winning when I do that. And I explain everything to make sure that my nafs is not to be blamed, that it was correct, that they deserve this, and this, reaction was totally like, deserving in this situation. But when I do that, I uh, I am short of like the wisdom of this taqdir, and the wisdom of this taqdir is to make my soul grow, is to purify me from this ghafla. And the only way to make my soul grow and to feed my soul, which is the one that is in dire need for its spiritual food, which is seeing the taqdir, seeing the qudra and the taqdir in this that's happening, uh, I'm denying myself that growth. And I am wasting everything that happened to bring this person or this situation to me to help me grow. So the more I am able to bring myself to see the qudra, the taqdir, the planning, and to know that it's my role to see it, appreciate it, and do it its haqq, and that to do it its haqq is to know that this is for my personal growth. So when I deny it, I am feeding my nafs. فألهمها فجورها وتقواها. So قد أفلح من زكاها. So only when I like do this purification process and stop myself and respond instead of react, respond with gratitude, at least in my heart, to my Rabb, that I'm going to use this situation to grow, uh, then I lose. وقد خاب من دساها, then I lose. And then also Yamina was saying like fear and excitement, fear from a situation, fear from a confrontation, and excitement about situation, they all both stimulate the same part of the brain. So my fear from the situation, I'm expecting this will happen and this person who triggers me is always going to do this, and my reacting that way, if I know this is planned, and I can bring the excitement of let me see how can I score better this time. Let me see if I can succeed more this time. Then I can change fear of the situation into the excitement of Alhamdulillah, I've got it. I hope that was clear.
Thank you, Alia. Yeah, the idea that the more and this is something we talk about, right? And every time I say this, I feel bad because I don't want to just say that, oh, we keep talking about this and then have no sort of progress practically. So this is why it's good to keep ourselves accountable. And if you have other ways of doing it, I know some people in the group, they have like a buddy system where they help each other with these sorts of reflections and tafakkur. And I think that's really helpful because if you've been joining the halaqah for some time now, you can see that there are certain topics and practices that we're always encouraging. And it can sound repetitive, but oftentimes, at least for myself, I find that even with very fundamental stuff that I have learned, I have yet to make it a daily part of my life. So it's not really fair for me to ask what's next, because I haven't passed the first level yet. So one thing that we keep saying is trying to focus on the here and now, on my day-to-day life, and then seeing these manifestations, seeing these examples. And Imam Nursi, right, is giving me a really clear-cut blueprint here. This is how you can manage and command that self-reflection, that process of witnessing, of shahada, and you can kind of like move. But I tend to just take the information and believe that having the information in itself is enough. And Tasnia said, asking what's next is also from my nafs. Yeah, because it's just trying to gain more information, but it has no practical backing at all. Yeah, because the nafs, so this is Tasnia in the chat, she said, because the nafs doesn't want to do the deep work that happens in a measured way. If you are available, you can unmute and say a bit more if you'd like.
Hi, I'm not Tesnia, but I want to say something
Of course.
based on your discussion. If she wants to talk, I can talk later. If she's available, I don't want to take her.
She hasn't unmuted yet, so you can go ahead.
Okay, okay, thank you, Tesnia. So, it's about like my personal journey. I know all of us have, we have different stories and, different struggles in life. But, one of my, I think like in my life, eye-opening event happened. It was such a big event. The event had has been maybe still effect on my life. I would never ever believe it if even if I saw it in my dream. Okay, so after that event, everything has changed. The people around me has changed. You know what I believe as a truth maybe has changed. So it was kind of a very transforming experience for me, and it was extremely painful. I cried for, I don't know, maybe months. I prayed, I cried, I prayed, and it was just it was not happening to me, but the people around me and everything. So it was such a hard period for me. And then it completely changed my life. It changed maybe my location, everything, let's say. But then I realized that what I was living, it wasn't a real. So the people around me were not real friends. And the I was living in a like a, I don't know, maybe like a movie or something like this. And then it was extremely painful, but takdir. So when takdir, Allah'ın takdiri. Uh, so I don't know. So maybe sometimes we just need to wait. We just need to be patient. We just need to be, just praying and turning our face towards Allah. And and in that period, maybe I don't know how long it takes, maybe 2 years, the pain was very intense. And I have experienced some miracles in my life like I will never ever believe. And so what I want to say, inshallah, everything is for the best. Allah'ın takdiri is best for us, and we just need to be patient about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Mine. I think what I love most about what you shared, and this is something that came to me when Aliyat was speaking, is the word miqdar that Ziba brought our attention to in the chat, which Aliyat also mentioned. The definition of was that Dr. Yamina shared with us was it's a certain quality, certain limits, certain form. And you just think about that with the trials that seem like too much, like too much a burden to bear, we say. Like it's just too much. Like, no, it's a certain quantity that is right at the certain limits of a certain form. And it's exactly what you said, Mina. Like it's perfectly tailored to suit your capacity to take you to the next level. And it reminded me of my background is in exercise science and sports. Um, and so even when it comes to muscle mass, in order to really increase muscle mass, there's a formula that a certain percentage of your maximal capacity. So the way to achieve that is like first you have to take someone to their maximal capacity and then you take a percentage of that. So subhanallah that the word miqdar, especially when it comes to trials, like I like how you said also your miracles are measured. But the trials, especially looking at Gaza and just your own life, you know, that it's just very, again, reassuring and relieving. Because if the seed is measured with perfection, right? We talked about the steps. If the seed is measured with perfection, and we see that and the proof of that, and these codes that we see, so therefore, you can, alhamdulillah, apply that to everything. And Dr. Yamina shared in the chat, patient plus being patient plus acceptance or surrender is bowing down to divine decree willingly and trustingly with inner peace is what expedites the process. Dr. Amina, did you want to share?
Assalamu alaikum. I think it's better to listen to all the sharings, inshallah. Thank you. But if there is a question, maybe. This was, Mina said, we need to be patient, which is totally true. And I'm saying if we learn to be patient and consciously accept that whatever is happening because it is the divine decree, then it is happening with purpose, with hikmah, with wisdom. Wisdom means benefits in this world and in the next. And with rahmah, then if we have some training, whatever the extent, of witnessing divine wisdom and rahmah in the creation, and we make the choice to be present to this, to be grateful, to surrender all the time when things are going well, then in times of hardship, we can renew our intention and choose to accept and trust and willingly surrender to divine will. So even though it is painful, at the same time, the pain is minimized because of that tawakkul, that trust that all is well and the end is well, and it's not limited to this world, but it's the real results is in akhirah. So even though the physical body can be in pain, the heart may have some hardship, but the ruh is at peace with the divine decree, because it will see, even if it doesn't see the beautiful names in that particular event, it knows it's Rabb in general. And there is that peace that all is well, because the all-merciful, the all-knowing, the all-wise is in charge. Alhamdulillah. becomes much easier, and we get through it faster. And because we're not trying to run away from those feeling and from the pain, but stay with it, because it's part of the process, it's part of the teaching, and they are there to teach us something. So we stay with them willingly, lovingly, trustingly, with surrendering, inshallah.
That was extremely helpful. Thank you so much, Dr. Yamina. I just wanted to follow up with something that you shared. So you said, so when we first start to practice to surrender all the time, to be grateful when things are going well, then in times of hardship, we can renew our intention to similarly surrender, accept. And I love the emphasis on trust and willingly surrender to divine will. So I was just going to ask, like, by surrendering all the time, does that mean, like, when things are going well, surrender looks like being grateful and pleased, I guess, with the decree, or is there something more?
Yeah, pleased with the decree, because when all is well, often everyone can check in their life. We don't dwell long enough in that feeling of awe and gratitude to our Rabb. Very quickly, we get out of it, because that feeling is not very familiar and it doesn't feel comfortable. We're used to complaining or feeling fear, anxiety, and everything. And so we focus on what we think is missing, what we think should be, or the fear of what if this goodness, this khair doesn't last, or what will happen next year, or whatever it is. So we are not focused on that. Very quickly, we find ourselves busy with something else. So in times of good, let's focus on the good, let's focus on gratitude, let's focus on yes, this is from Allah and this is His decree, and now what I'm supposed to do is to respond with gratitude, with awe, with tasbih, with glorifying my Rabb, with getting ready for my akhirah, to focus on my ibadah, to focus on preparing for akhirah. And when I forget, back istighfar, back into cultivating that shukr and gratitude to God as much as I can. And it's always yes, 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 because the moment we are not there, we are not in that gratitude, we are saying no to something. No, it shouldn't be like this. Something is missing. So, astaghfirullah, back into Alhamdulillah, all is well. It does not mean that I am not given the desire for something better, but that's different. Doesn't mean that now something is missing. It means that now it's perfect and I am made to ask for something. So that's my new dua, with gratitude, from gratitude, not from complaint, not from something is missing. I also acknowledge that the desire for better is also given to me. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. How did I even know that there could be something better, or I want something better? I am amazed that I'm made to want even better. So that's also, that desire itself is something to celebrate, to make tasbih, because it's not from me, it is given to me. Subhanallah, mashallah, tabarakallah.
Thank you, Dr. Yamina. I like that. Now is perfect, and I need to um, dwell in that and move from a place of gratitude, not from complaining or finding faults. And my need to ask for something better is also being given and being created. And that's also something to be thankful for. I was also thinking, oh, go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, I had a question if the group is responsive or interested to this. I am curious to hear Dr. Yamina's thoughts and all of your thoughts, anyone who wants to share about how to practice and really get this so deep into you that you can feel that patience and that submission and everything that we're talking about in moments where there's some sort of crisis or some sort of calamity and you have to make a hard decision and you have to make it very quickly, because I feel like, I don't know, it's one thing for me to practice responding to a hardship or adversity where I feel like, okay, in 2 years, in 5 years, maybe I will, if I'm patient, I will see the goodness in it. But it's harder for me, I think, to practice for the moments where, say your child gets sick and you take them to the doctor and the doctor says, well, you have to act now. It's an emergency. You have to, there's the surgery that we could do, but it's very risky. You have to make the decision. And how to practice for those moments. Because to me, those are, immediately the response is I have to make a decision. I, right? You feel the weight of that responsibility, and that the decision that you make has so much weight or so much consequence. And so I wonder how to practice for those moments.
I'll share a few points. Maybe Sarah would like to talk more about it, because something she shared in previous weeks, points that are related to this subject. But again, it's always about this situation is like when I'm in the exam. I can only answer at the level of what I've reached so far. So the training and is happening all the time. And in times of crisis, I cannot do more than I am. So the first thing is istighfar. It may seem counterintuitive, but for me, istighfar is something we do all the time, and especially when I need help, divine guidance. So astaghfirullah, because I don't want to go into panic mode. Panic mode means disconnected from the source of guidance, as if I exist on my own in the world and everything is totally horizontally happening. Things are happening almost like as if randomly, and they just happen to be in my life. There is no taqdir, therefore no wisdom, no purpose, no. So panicking, being in fear, feeling overwhelmed with anxiety is totally inescapable almost. So astaghfirullah, something, this is happening now. Ya Rabbi, my Rabb, what should I do? I'm going to be able to receive guidance to the extent that I open my heart, and to the extent that I'm used to be receptive to divine guidance. Divine guidance can happen in different ways. It could be something you feel, but at least whatever the level, even if the outcome is not the best, at least as far as my ibadah is concerned, as if I remember to turn to God for guidance, even if I don't really get something, if I'm not doing it from a place of fear, but a place of seeking guidance and seeking wisdom, then at least it's much better in the long term, and in this world, and mostly in Akhirah, it's much better, because that act now becomes an act of worship, an act of recognizing the divine intervention in my life. And so even if I make a mistake or I make the wrong decision, I am more likely to recognize if I am then re-guided to revisit, for instance, my decisions. Because I am now, people can make dua, please, 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 Allah, but actually I am, please, please, saying Allah just because I'm used to, which is much better than someone who does not at all. But in my heart, I'm feeling, where is Allah? But if I am, please, Allah, help me, I know that you are helping me right now. I'm the one who cannot receive it. So please open my heart so I can see your help. So I'm more likely in the process, things will get easier. Things will start lining up just by taking that stand. And then I can only be responsible from what I know. So it feels this way, I'll take that decision. Allah won't say, ask us, why did you take that decision? If it's the wrong decision, Allah can always, how do you say, compensate for it or rectify it. Allah will ask us, did you remember who your Rabb is in that situation? So that's what we need to be clear about. And then, as far as taking to the hospital, doing this, signing that or not, as long as I'm not coming from a place of panic and a place of fear, if I'm Bismillah, this is what I feel is the best thing to do now. And Allah, if I am open, if there is another way, I'm open to other possibilities. So I'm not, how do you say, inflexible in one way or the other. I'm not giving power to causes, to a certain intervention or something. I am saying it's a path that Allah is opening in before me. If there is a better path, I am ready to follow it, inshallah. So there's lots of istighfar and lots of asking for help and guidance, and then doing whatever I feel is the right thing.
Sister, I totally agree to what Sister Yamina is saying. I just wanted to share with the information I get, through Risale-i Nur. What changed in my practice is on those moments, like when I feel helpless, it can be that severe, like a surgery, something. It can be so little. Anything that I feel helpless with my daughter or my husband, something. What changes? Everything I'm doing same. But before then, like for a few seconds, maybe, not long, having that connection. Like whatever you're saying, like those dua moment or like asking help, but very sincerely, very, very trusting, in a trusting way. Allah, oh Allah, you see my situation. I don't want, I want this to be solved in a smoother way. Please help me. And then whatever is needed, I go, call my friend or go and talk to my daughter. And I see that Allah really, really making it easy on me when I don't miss that moment, few seconds, turning to Allah and asking help from Him. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you guys for sharing. And thank you, Len, for the question. I think it definitely opened up a new line of thinking that runs parallel to what we've been talking about. Do you want to follow up?
Oh, just Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for everyone who responded. I really will be thinking about the idea that in those moments we are not going to be asked, did you anticipate every single possible consequence of the decision? We will be asked by our creator, did you remember me?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for the sisters who responded.
I can just add something because I had something which I was going through recently, and this is the exact like what everyone has shared. Like first reaction was to fall in sujood and ask, this is from you, and what you want me to learn from it, open it for me, and also like sincere dua, and knowing that Allah, this you have sent it in a measured way, and you know my needs, and you know what my growth, like where I need to grow. Just open it for me, and then be open to receiving. And also duas, like dua is such a big tool. We usually don't use it as much as so. With dua, there was a simple dua like Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla wa anta tajalla al-hazna idha shata sahla. So like if Allah, there is no ease except if you will it, and then make it easy. And that type of dua. It was a dua, but subhanallah, I could even witness my heart, the state it was in when I made it understandingly and with sincerity and with connection, like I was talking to Allah with sincere words. That helped me, like something changed in my heart. I can't even put a finger on it. I found suddenly, like my lens also changed, my way to react changed, and I was more receptive to seeing things like how what was missing in the situation, how I can make it better, and other things also. So, and it's still a process, like it's an ongoing process of receiving and acting and asking Allah.
I would like to add one more thing. When the hardness come, I just feel okay. Whenever it is right now, look like not good, but this will be end good. So I just keep reminding me in that position and change my mind, because the shaitan consistently give us vesvese, give us the negative things, negative way for anything. So I just try to say right now is really look like bad, negative, but Allah will change. Just trust. He's the controller, not anyone else, not once. So it's really changed me nowadays in the hardship situation. I have to decide. So I just feel I am not the decider. He will do for me, and just trust him.
Can I say one more thing maybe? Tonight I'm kind of
Guys,
telling
you
more.
do not have to ask for permission.
What is it?
While we're sharing reflections, you can share your reflections.
Oh,
Inshallah.
okay. Okay.
If
Okay.
we're straying away from the topic, we will let you know. So
Okay.
feel free
Okay.
to share, and we love hearing new voices. So please.
Okay. So this this is my second time talking. So so the thing is, one in the original question, the sister, she was giving an example about something happened at the hospital. So uh, it's like my again personal story maybe, but years ago I was pregnant with twin baby girls, and unfortunately it was about like 16 weeks or 17 weeks, and my water broke, and I went to the hospital, and the doctor told me, we have to remove the babies, but the thing is they were still alive, and it was a very very tough question for me. like the sister mentioned in the original question, it was kind of emergency. The doctor is asking something about you or your loved ones. So, what I want to say, I think in this kind of situations, um, of course, we always turn to Allah for guidance, and um, and in practical, if you have someone around you, like some wise person who knows about um, who is kind of devoted to Allah, or like this group, right? So everybody's trying to learn something about their journey. So I wish I had like more people like you around me at that time, because when you were in this difficult situation, you really need to hear from a wise person, and I think it is good to have good friends around you. Thank you.
Yeah, when we talk about practical aspects, this is something that gets overlooked. If you don't have people who can remind you or snap you out of any kind of mental or spiritual spiral, then coming back to that conscious state of worship, of ubudiyya, that's going to be much harder if you're just doing it alone. So thank you, everyone, and as you have reflections and tips and tricks on what is working for you, as we are trying to make this a consistent practice in our lives, you can definitely share in our WhatsApp chat as well, and we can all benefit, inshallah. And just as a reminder, because we have more people joining, and we might have some new people in halaqah, we are recording and we upload everything to YouTube. So if you want to listen to our previous sessions on Qadar, they are in our YouTube channel. And as you are, joining, if you want to keep certain things more vague, that's a personal choice, up to you. But just know that we are recording. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we're doing that. Okay, thank you, Lynn, for posing your question. I think it really opened up a new point of reflection for all of us. Alhamdulillah. Okay. So we have 40 minutes. I want to read until the end of the conclusion. So we'll see. Okay, so I'm just going to read the last two paragraphs we were supposed to study, and then we'll get to the summary. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay. Since there are the manifestations of divine determining to this extent in physical and visible things, certainly the forms with which things are clothed with the passing of time and the states acquired through the motions they perform will also be dependent on the ordering of divine determining. I'm sharing the screen. Can you guys see?
Yes,
Okay.
You can see it. Yeah.
I can't.
You can't, Dr. Amina?
No. There is at the very top, there is a tab. Now it disappeared. Meeting or shade screen. So you need to click. I see it now. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In a seed are two manifestations of divine determining. One is evident and points to the clear book, which is a title of will and the creational commands. The other is theoretical and points to the clear record, which is the title of divine knowledge and the divine command. Evident divine determining specifies the physical nature, states, and parts of the tree which the seed comprises, while theoretical divine determining specifies the stages, states, forms, motions, and glorifications which the tree will undergo and perform over the period of its life, and which are in the seed and will be created from it. These stages, states, forms, and acts, which constantly change and are called its life history, each have a regulated measure in accordance with divine determining, the same as the tree's branches and leaves. Since there is such a manifestation of divine determining in the most common and simple of things, it surely demonstrates that all things are written before they come into existence. This may be understood with little attention. Now, evidence for the fact that the story of everything's life is written after its existence are all fruits, which in this world tell of the clear book and the clear record, and the faculty of memory in man, which points to the preserved tablet. These all hint and testify to this fact. Indeed, the appointed events of a tree's life are written in its seeds, which are like the hearts of its fruits, and man's life history, together with some of the past events of the world, are written in his memory in such a way that, as though copying out with the hand of power and pen of divine determining, in a faculty as tiny as a mustard seed, a small note from the page of his actions, the memory gives the note to man's hand and puts it in the pocket of his mind, so that with it he will call his actions to mind at the time of reckoning. So too, due to it, he may be confident that within the upheavals of transience and death, there are numerous lasting mirrors in which the all-powerful and wise one depicts and makes permanent the identities of transient beings, and truly numerous tablets which shall endure for all eternity, on which that all-knowing preserver inscribes the meanings of transitory beings. Okay. So, Bismillah. We read this last week, so I just wanted to reread so we can get our head in the back in the text. In short, since plant life, the simplest and lowest level of life, is dependent on the ordering of divine determining to this extent, certainly human life, the highest level of life, has been drawn in all its details according to the scale and measuring of divine determining, and is inscribed by its pen. Yes, just as raindrops tell of clouds, and drops of water point to the existence of a water source, and the notes and portfolios to the existence of a large ledger, so too the evident divine determining, which we observe, and which is the physical order in living beings, indicates the notebook of divine will and creational commands known as the clear book. Similarly, their fruits, seeds, grains, forms, and shapes, which are like the droplets, notes, and portfolios of theoretical divine determining, which is the non-physical order and pertains to life, indicates the preserved tablet, one office of divine knowledge, which is called the clear record. This is the third section, Elif. Thank you for that, Minna. Minna put a picture of a mustard seed in the chat for anyone who wants to see how small it is. Okay, So let's just quickly look at the logic here, right? We're looking at plant life, which is the simplest and lowest level of life, and what it requires. We said it's dependent on the ordering of divine determining to this extent. So the previous paragraphs we've read have been about how in the lives of plants or in the world of vegetation, let's say, we have this manifestation of divine determining in each seed, each grain, each fruit, each tree. So if even those simplest and lowest levels of life are dependent on that sort of ordering, then certainly our lives, right, the highest level of life, it must be drawn in all its details according to the scale and measuring of divine determining and is inscribed by its pen. Then we're looking at what it meant that we got two kinds of divine determining. If you guys remember, we have an evident divine determining and a theoretical divine determining. And we said we had two kinds of qadar, basically. First kind is the kind that we could witness, we could confirm, we could see. And the second kind was one we could not see, but one where by witnessing and confirming the first kind of qadar, we can believe with certainty that the second kind also exists. So this is the setup here in the latter portion of the paragraph. And then here, okay, we have raindrops tell of clouds, drops of water point to a water source, notes, portfolios to a ledger. So the evident divine determining, which is what we can see, right? We can observe that we can observe, this is what we've been talking about, we can look at or study the DNA of plants or humans or whatever. We have some sense and reliable way of looking at the world, knowing that, oh, if I plant this seed, this kind of fruit will be growing if I do this, and follow the rules in that divine order, this is what I can expect. So that order that I can witness and see is showing me or pointing to a source where it's coming from. And this is the theoretical divine determining, the non-physical order, which pertains to life, indicates the preserved tablet, one office of divine knowledge, which is called the clear record.
Nurbana,
Yes.
this evident divine, let me see. The evident divine determining refers to Kitab al-Mubin.
No, قدر
Which could you say which
بديهي.
Imam Mubin? I didn't get it.
Imam Mubin is the clear record, and Kitab Mubin is the clear book. Qadar, as far as we're concerned, has two sides. One that looks to the past and the future, which looks to Imam Mubin, and one that looks to what we see and the execution. It looks more, so the first one looks more to divine knowledge, decree from the knowledge point of view, and the other one, so that's Imam Mubin, the clear record, and the second Qadar. It's the same Qadar. It's how we approach it. It's just a way to approach things that we see. It pertains to the present, to the seen more than to the present, and therefore to Qudra and to divine power and to the execution of the decree of Qadar. And that's looks to Kitab Mubin, the clear book. So the two Qadars, one is theoretical, Nazari Qadar, and the evident is Badihi Qadar, inshallah. That's just to, how do you say, if you look at the original, you will find the terms, inshallah.
I just wrote the specific terms in the chat. Fable. Okay. So let's continue, inshallah. Would anyone like to ask any questions here, or if anything is unclear, or if you want to
Can I just share
Mhm.
about this? If you imagine, like, for everything, what created in each second, for everything, there's always more than one possibility in the ilm of Allah. Like for everything, whatever you think, like you can go this way, or you can have this shape but different. Like, so many possibilities are in the ilm of Allah regarding our qadar. But only one thing happens at that moment. Like, not that one XYZ, so many possibilities, like a mass, like pathways. Like imagining, like like brain circuits, if you can see that circuits interconnected. In each point, there are hundreds, millions of maybe possibilities. It's the ilm of Qadar of Allah in his book of Imam Mubin. But what exactly happens in this world, one of the possibilities happen at that moment for that specific thing is like Kitab Mubin. So when I see it this way, like, it is incredible. I don't know how Allah's power is, if you can see that those every each moment for every each creation. It is not that color, but this shape. You know what I mean? I don't know if I could. Maybe I couldn't explain it, but like Kitab al-Mubin, Imam Mubin is kind of covering also Kitab al-Mubin. Like, in our DNA as human beings, we have so many different chromosomes. I could have blue eyes, but I don't have it. But it is still in my record. So it is like Imam Mubin is in the ilm, in my each cells. It is in my each cells, but it is not happening. In Kitab Mubin, I have brown eyes. I don't know if I could explain it. When I, saw it this way, it was so shocking for me. So regarding the Qadar, I'm not thinking if I can explain a different way. Could you imagine what I'm trying to, like, picturing in front of your eyes?
Can I ask a question? Like, is the Kitab Mubin, is there a role of our choice at that? And Imam Mubin is like these many choices we could have made, but we chose one, and so that's happened. Like, does that choice come into Kitab?
It does not, it's not referring particularly or to the human life. It pertains to all of creation. One looks Qadar as it looks to ilm, to divine knowledge, which means everything. I mean, the past and the future. As far as we're talking, of course, from our perspective, as far as we're concerned. And that knowledge is executed here and now in time. When it is executed and we see it, that looks to Kitab Mubin. Now we can take this and talk about, as far as human, our choices is concerned, what it means. I mean, even someone who does not believe in Qadar, I read a long time ago, someone was saying everything is created twice. And they meant, so I said, what does it mean? Everything. And the author was saying, once it is created in the mind as a plan, and then it is executed. And from this, he's talking about changing your, that you are not limited by your conditions, because if you change your patterns and your thoughts and what you want to do, then what you will do in your life will start changing. This is totally someone who is not thinking about qadar. So one is looks to the plan, the divine knowledge. Everything is planned, is known, and Kitab Mubin is the aspect that looks to the execution of the plan. Like if it's a house, you first have to plan it, then it is constructed. You see it being built. The building part looks to the qadar that we see now. But when we see the house, whether after it's built or while it is built, we can infer that there is a plan. It's not randomly a house is being built. The workers are following a known plan, something that has already been decided. And I'm guessing, but I'm not sure about what has just been shared, which I think is very important for our choice in life. Because remember, in the beginning, our choice is very tiny, very limited, but it makes a huge difference, because it's a choice between like looking to God or looking away from God, surrendering or resisting, accepting or denying, iman or kufr. It's a huge difference. It seems like a tiny choice that we have, but it's huge. And that choice, in order for it to be executed in our life, to become amal, to become our life, it first happens in our intention, in our dua, in our, all that is like our plan for things. But here it's more about as it looks to God, as it looks to, not God, but here it's saying like whatever you do is being like your life is, everything is recorded. Because it seems like how would it be recorded? As if my life is not part of the creation, it seems. But if we stop and realize that we are part of the creation, then maybe that's the infinite possibilities. Of course, from my perspective, from our perspective, from Allah's perspective, there is no infinite possibilities. Everything is known. But because, as far as I'm concerned, it is still unknown, so the possibilities are endless. And that's why dua is so important, because it changes your, well, I'm not sure it's the right way of saying it. It's like you're changing your qadar. It means because my dua becomes part of my qadar, but it means, as far as I'm concerned, anytime and every time, my dua can change what could have been my qadar, because it has an effect on the divine knowledge, because that's what Allah willed, that He answers our dua. So it's a little bit difficult to say it this way because we are talking in time, whereas for God there is no time. So the fact that I made this dua is also known to God, as we talked. Qadar on generally looks to knowledge. The part that looks to Qudra, to the execution, is that Kitab al-Mubin, is what we see now. And so, as far as we're concerned, from this perspective, dua has a huge, how do you say, huge impact and effect on our life, because it has the power to change our life, because it is what connects us to the source of those infinite possibilities. And we are asking for the best. I mean, of course, not about the color of your eyes, but that's part, because that part is our free will doesn't get into that. But the second kind of qadar, where your life story can be impacted or is impacted by dua, because dua could be our conscious dua or unconsciously what we are doing. In any case, it is the seed of what happens in our life. So if this is like this, I agree with what was shared. This is extremely important, because we're sowing the seeds, knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, of the part of our life that is open to change. There are parts that are set, but there are parts that are not set, like the tree will grow into an apple tree, no problem. But what will happen to that tree, its life story, is unknown. So the unknown part is what I need to pray for, because the possibilities are endless, and we can pray for the better and best possibilities. It can be overwhelming, but at the same time, if we follow the path of prayer and surrendering to divine will, then it becomes overwhelming with awe and joy and gratitude and excitement about the unknown, becomes something we look forward to. Wallahu a'lam.
Sister Yamina, this is such a hopeful, the way you put it. It gives you such a, like, it's bringing smile to my heart that, just having even the opportunity that we can expect miracles to come if we are, I think, doing, if we're following, what you just said, that expect miracles if maybe understand each and every, and maybe we submit to His will and understand our role in it, and may Allah guide us all through that. It's just exciting to hear those words of reaffirmation, and just there's so much which we can witness, inshallah, in a beautiful way.
Thank you, Dr. Amina and Ziba, for your question and your comment. I read a it's not a, what is it called? A quote, let's say, from Amar radiallahu anh, just this morning, actually, and it was him arriving in a city when he was a caliph, and there was either some sort of sickness going around, and he was informed of this, and he decided to not enter the city and leave. And the person who was the administrator of that city, who was appointed, I guess, asked Omar, "Are you running away from the Qadar of Allah?" And Omar says, "I'm running away from one Qadar to another Qadar." And it just makes me think of what we've been talking about, that my dua is also part of my Qadar, and my choices are also part of my Qadar, and the decisions I make, which go back to the first thing we talked about when Lynn proposed her question, is when I'm making my decisions, what's important is, am I thinking about how my creator would want me to act in any specific scenario. So I like that. And I feel like we have a lot of homework that has come out of these few paragraphs. So let's read the conclusion, and I think I'll stop there because I think that'll be just enough time, inshallah. Okay, to conclude, we see clearly that at the time of their growth and development, the particles of living beings travel to their intricate extremities and halt. Then they change their path. At each of the extremities, they produce the fruits of benefits, uses, and instances of wisdom. Clearly, the forms of those things and their measures are drawn with a pen of determining. Thus, observable evidence determining shows that in the non-physical states of living beings also are well-ordered, fruitful extremities and limits drawn with the pen of determining. Divine power is the source. Divine determining is the pattern. Power writes the meaningful book on that pattern. Since we understand clearly that the fruitful limits and purposeful extremities have been drawn with the pen of divine determining, physical and non-physical, certainly the states and stages which all living beings undergo in the course of their lives are also drawn with that pen. For their life stories follow a course with order and balance. They change forms and receive shapes. Since the pen of divine determining thus rules in all living beings, surely the life history of man, the world's most perfect fruit, and vicegerent of the earth, and bearer of the supreme trust, is more than anything dependent on the law of divine determining. So the beginning of this conclusion is what we've talked about last week, and I think it was Ishrabla who was saying, when you reflect on your hands or your feet or like your body generally, we can do this reflection of, why why are my fingers stopping growth once they get to this many inches or this width or this I don't know, length. We have some pictures in the chat of embryo development, and I liked that Mina shared each cell has the same DNA, but some of them become brain cells, some of them become skin cells, etc. And if you guys remember, we talked about this in our previous halakha on angels too. We have an order in the universe where the primary building block is the same, but from that one thing, everything is being created. And that was in the section about power, the absoluteness of power. So it's nice to remember it here when we're thinking about divine determining and divine power. Okay, so I'm just going to read this again and then we'll open it up for questions, and then I'll see if Dr. Yamina, you would like to finish us on this section, inshallah. So divine power is the source. Divine determining is the pattern. Power writes the meaningful book on that pattern. Yeah, let's just focus on that. So if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and ask. And if not, we'll let Dr. Yamina close out. Okay, no questions. Dr. Yamina, would you like to say anything before we finish?
For me here, the word that attracts my attention is physical and non-physical. Physical is easier to understand, like the cells come and your fingers, they're not all the same size. Why would the cells, or how would they know that each one has a different shape, size, function, and everything? Why do they stop and take a certain shape and not another? It's like for plants as well, the leaves. Some are tiny, some are huge. It's not because divine power was not enough. That's why those leaves are small, because the plant next to it has huge leaves. And subhanallah, each one knows is following, it says here, awamir takwiniya, creational commands. So it's divine command, be, and it is. It's clearly, it is like this. So from the physical, if we are careful, if we are reflecting, if we are making shahada, observing, and seeing the power, the divine wisdom, the divine will at work there, then take it and apply it to the non-physical. And it was shared in the beginning. Everyone was sharing very beautiful and profound things that maybe sometimes we take for granted. But and there was also a question in the beginning, like about the trust. How do we nurture this trust? So in the physical, we see it, it's clearly there. And the more we nurture this certainty and we see the divine power at work everywhere, so the non-physical in what's happening in the world and what's happening in my life is in the same way also written by divine power. It has extremities. It happens to a certain extent or not. It has molds, as if it's not happening haphazardly. It's happening with wisdom, with knowledge, with. So if we can make that parallel and move from the physical to the non-physical, take all what we learned and we experienced and observed in the physical world and apply it to the non-physical part of life, our inner personal life, and what's happening around us and in the world, then everything will start changing, because now look at it with the perspective of everything is happening by divine will and divine power. The pen of power is writing what is happening. It's not happening by randomly. There is no excess, or I think there was some nice in the chat, some things that were shared in the beginning about Miqdar, for instance, and everything is happening with Miqdar means happening in exact measure, or catered exactly to our need. For instance, someone shared. There were other nice sharings in speech and in the chat, alhamdulillah. So for me, this is very important. Actually, he said that at the beginning of the conclusion, that we are applying what we learned to everything else. We're applying the badihi qadar that we see in the physical to not only the non-physical, but also to the future. So even though we don't know what will happen tomorrow, we have full trust, because we trust Allah, we trust His power, we trust His wisdom, we trust His knowledge. And so there is no fear of the unknown, and that's where dua comes. We are in a state of dua. It's not necessarily asking for something specific. It could be just being excited at, let's see what Allah has for us tomorrow. Whatever He wills is always the best, as wise people have said, and we're learning from them. They were just excited to receive the new creation, the new gifts from the Creator. Alhamdulillah. So he's saying here, certainly the states and stages which all living beings undergo in the course of their lives are also drawn with that pen. Everything is drawn with that pen. That pen of power is also the pen of wisdom and knowledge, but it's primarily power because it's being created. That divine will and knowledge is being executed. For their life stories follow a course with order and balance. This includes ourselves. They change forms. Includes ourselves means includes myself and everyone and everything we care about. I'll also, for their life stories, follow a course with order and balance. They change forms and receive shapes. So we are changing, like we're getting older or getting sick or something. All that is within this divine will, divine knowledge, divine power, and receive shapes. Since the pen of divine determining thus rules in all living beings, surely the life history of human being, the world's most perfect fruit and vicegerent, the Khalifa of the earth, and bearer of the supreme trust, al-amana, is more than anything dependent on the law of Qadar. Yeah, alhamdulillah. So it becomes easier and easier to trust. And when we trust, it becomes easier to surrender. It's like you are in a boat, even there is a storm and everything, you trust the boat and the captain of the boat because he's the one in charge of the storm and everything happening outside and inside. And the more we start living life this way, experiencing life this way, we are getting away from a self-centered perception of the self and the world, which is the cause of all our problems, and relying more and more on Allah, on our Rabb, and then we are more likely to remember Him, more likely to be grateful, more likely to bow in awe and gratitude and thanks, inshallah. And that's what ibadah is about.
Jazakallah, Dr. Yamina. I'll say one last thing and then I'll close out. Two things came to me during this session. I was thinking of how there is, we often talk about the sunnah of Allah, sunnatullah, right? So Qadar being personalized for each of us is part of that sunnah. And that's something that, especially nowadays, we're really into. So not just, Sarah was saying, like for someone's physical health, or if they want to build muscle or lose weight, you look at that person's weight, that person's height, that person's diet, health conditions, etc. Everything is personalized for that person. But we do that in every part of our lives nowadays. Like most things that are in the consumerist, I guess, cycle, right, is this thing is personalized for you. Fill out the survey and get a personalized, a monthly box of clothes, toys, coffee, whatever, but it's just for you. Even your shampoo is personalized for your scalp, for your city, for your atmosphere that you're in, for your hair type. Like everything is personalized to you. And that's something that we covet. Like that's something that I want. I don't want something that's one size fits all. I want the shampoo that's for me. I want the clothes that are perfectly fitting for me. I want the whatever, right? So this is I think, when we talk about there's needs, like I have needs, and in life, certain things are like matching those needs, like puzzle pieces. So that experience of me wanting a personalized, even like your email inbox or your Google homepage, you can personalize it and choose the colors and fonts that you want to see, right? So that it's for you. That's something that we want. So when I think about my life plan, my life history, what is going on with my life every day, and also in the big picture, it's amazing to think this is all customized for me. Like what is happening to me now is perfect. It's been measured, it's been planned, and I'm living in a reality that is created and sustained by a being who loves me and who is merciful and who is compassionate and who is customizing my experience. And I think that makes me feel very special. And then the second thing I thought about was this peace that comes with knowing that things are being planned and executed according to wisdom. And again, that's something that we really take advantage of nowadays, right? So if you're planning a party, if you're planning a graduation, if you're planning a wedding, if you are remodeling your home, everyone's like, hire an expert and you don't have to worry about anything, right? Because if you are doing the planning yourself, you have to think about the catering, you have to think about the lodging, you have to think about the parking, all of that. But when you hire someone whose job is literally doing all of that, that's it. You trust that person. They have great reviews. You give them their money and they do the thing. And this is something we experience we have personal experience with. So what is the like universal rule that's in place there? I have a need for things to be planned and under control. It's too much for me to do it all. I feel very uneasy when that's the case, even when it's something as simple as a birthday celebration. So when I think about my life, how peaceful would it be to think that there is a planner who is taking care of my life, who is taking care of providing for me, is educating me, is always surrounding me with love and the things that I need. And I don't have to control everything and I don't have to worry about everything. So it's just like the small things I'm experiencing in practical life, in daily life, they are these little beacons for me to use as a springboard so that I can see how my creator is giving me that same treatment because I have that need and it's like it's not a need just for a perfect birthday party. It's I want a perfect, not perfect, but I want a life in which I feel safety. I feel peace. So it's manifesting in those small ways.
Well, just one thing, more than thinking that God is doing all this, it's about knowing, being certain, seeing, experiencing, looking around, being sure, experiencing it again and again until I don't forget it because it's everywhere. He's taking care of us. He's taking care of everything. So once the more I have that certainty, the more I trust, I relax, I'm relieved, and I start, I'm grateful. So it's not, thinking is not enough. If I only think about it, but I never go and do the work, then my heart won't be moved and I cannot let go. The fear is there. I don't know if it's true that he is in charge or not. Just want to emphasize that. So the more we do the work, the more, that's why الشرك ظلم عظيم. And that's why believing in God is to our benefit. We're the beneficiary because we become acquainted with the reality that we are being taken care of in all unimaginable ways. Subhanallah, MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I know you guys want to close out, but if I may just take a minute. Nurbanu, you know what you said about all this personalization. That's a commercial thing to get to your ego. Whereas I feel Allah's plan for us is for the better. And the way I understand Qadar is more when there's a calamity. It's to comfort us, to say, oh, Allah's taking care of this calamity. He has imposed this calamity. So ego is one thing, but God's plan for us and taking care of us, I mean, like provision, we say he's al-Razak. So when we go for a job interview, we don't ace it and we don't get the job, we get upset. But Allah has promised us our provision. So we just have to trust that that job wasn't good for us. And that's why we didn't get it. Instead of being upset that, oh, I didn't get that job, I really wanted it. No, it may not have been good for you. So, I mean, I talked about the pen is written, you know, the words are written and the ink is dry, like those major things, rizq, lifespan, our deeds, and whether we are going to be blessed or damned. So in terms of, you know, everything good, we can see everything good. But when we have a calamity, we don't seem to recognize that this is the qadr of Allah. I shouldn't speak for everybody, but a lot of people may be like, why did this happen to me? why did with all the multiple choices, somebody talked about there's so many choices that Allah could have taken down as a path. That's true. There are many choices, but he's written one path for us. But he also, in the Quran, says that he wipes out things as well. So if he's written something for us and we make dua, which is we say dua is the thing that can change our qadr. And sometimes we ask for something in a dua that we're not going to get. And then, oh, I've been asking for this for so long. Should I give up now? Not recognizing that whatever you're asking for might not be a good thing for you. Us. I'm sorry, I'm not saying you, I mean like individuals. So this qadr is more in my understanding to help me come to terms with something that is overwhelming and possibly considered a negative thing. So if I say Allah willed this, I have to submit and accept and, move on. Otherwise, it becomes very hard to believe in Qadar. It becomes very hard to accept certain things in life. So this is why this is a pillar of the unseen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But it's the good and the bad. It was actually much earlier. There was I think in the second topic, maybe the last paragraph was belief in Qadar is when good things happen to me, to put a limit to the ego wanting to claim it for itself. And when bad things happen, to accept responsibility and stop complaining. So it's both. And I think I agree that definitely it shows up in our life more in times of calamity, because in times of blessings we may be saying Alhamdulillah, but our heart may not be going to Allah. It's just a word. So in times of calamities we truly tried, if we are really mean it or we are just imitating. And I think if I did not misunderstand, even though the example that Nurbanu gave is used to cater to the ego and to make money out of people, but I think Nurbanu was, if I understood correctly, just pointing that we have a need, because all marketing is used on, they research about human psychology, human needs, and then they exploit them for whatever they want to do. But the need is there, and it is true that Allah's taqdeer and his creation, he's taking care of everything in general and of everyone and everything in particular. So for instance, the example that was given about you go to a job interview and you don't get the job, you get upset, but it was said it may be this is what's better for you. It could be this is what's better for you. It could be telling you need to prepare yourself better, whatever. But we know that whatever happened, whether I get the job or not, has wisdom in it, has rahmah in it, has compassion in it. So Allah is creating that for my journey, to prepare me for my journey for akhirah. Of course, if I take the opportunity, because I may miss that opportunity. But even though it seems like something insignificant, yet it can change a lot of things in our life when we see it as something that Allah created for me to guide me in this world to prepare for akhirah. So again, there is that sense that everything is tailored to everyone. Even sometimes like a kitten or something, you see that Allah creates that you were going on a path, something happens, you change your path, you see the kitten, you save the kitten. So it's not only about me, but the kitten is also being taken care of, particularly. Subhanallah, of course, when we, if we pause and reflect on this, it's beyond our imagination. We can only make sajda in awe before the complexity and the comprehensiveness of Allah's rahmah and His hikmah, His wisdom, that everything is being taken care one by one. Subhanallah. But yes, in times of calamities, it's time to check ourselves. That's where we get the best feedback. Each one, of course, will looking at himself.
Okay, thank you, Zubida, and Dr. Yamina. I think we can stop here. It's 10:21. We already had some friends drop, so we'll start with the question next week, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواكم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة. رسولنا صلوات.